Tuck in, children, Venom's got a story for you. This is a story of intrigue and deception. It's a story involving a game called Phoenix Point, a man named Julian Gollop, and the Epic's game launcher. And here's a TLDR of the story before I get into my portion of it. Now, long ago in a galaxy far, far away, there was a game series by the name of XCOM which saw some okay success. Now you fast travel forward some length of time, and Julian Gollop, co-creator of XCOM UFO Defense, found Snapshot Games. In 2016, Snapshot Games begins crowdfunding for a game called Phoenix Point. It's a tactical turn-based shooter, which is what Julian and his team were known for. The crowdfunding is successful, and Phoenix Point begins development. Jump to around today, and said game is fully funded and is well on its way to release. And Snapshot Games, via a video with Julian Gollop, announces that Phoenix Point will only be released on the Epic's Game Store launcher for 1 year. Not only on that launcher for 1 year, it's only going to be on that launcher, nowhere else. Now, if you followed the story, then you know what happens next. If not, you can probably guess. The backers are pissed off, demanding refunds, wanting to know why the company suddenly changed what they promised, and people essentially accusing the company of using the fans and their backers as a, and I quote, an interest-free loan, which, by all means, this is what it was. Now, whether they intended to do this from the get-go, I don't know, I doubt it, but it seems that now that they are secure, and by they, I mean Snapshot Games, now they're taking this time to try to cut a better deal for themselves. That being launching the game on the Epic's Game Store launcher, or the Epic launcher. Now, why is this a better deal for themselves? Well, apparently games on the Epic Store actually give their creators a much higher cut of the sales revenue versus Steam. Now, this may be great for game developers, however, the Epic's Game Launcher is missing a ton of features that people with Steam are used to having, and there have been a lot of controversies with the Epic's Game Store launcher. First off, people are upset that on PC, now, just like console, games are having exclusive release areas. One of the reasons people like to play PC is that you typically get most of your games there. I mean, there's not as much exclusivity there. And now we see that issue where we had games specifically launching for, say, PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Now we see that happening for PC, except with different launchers. You may say, well, it's still on PC, it's just a different launcher, it takes a couple minutes to download. The problem is, a lot of us already have Steam in our libraries, or all of our games on Steam on our computers. We've already got 2 or 3 other launchers as it is. We've got launchers for our MMOs that we play. If you're playing Fallout 76, you've got that launcher too. And it seems like companies are trying to push for their own launchers now, instead of having all the games in one place like Steam does. Couple that with the fact that the Epic launcher itself has been mired in some controversy, including some that, well, I'm working on a story right now that could be potentially interesting, we'll see, but long story short, your data may not necessarily be safe on the Epic Game Launcher. I'll bring more on that later. I'm still digging into the story. So for now, take that portion with a grain of salt. The biggest issue people are having is that they just don't want to use the Epic's Game Store launcher. People are tired of having this exclusivity fight on PC when that's not someplace that should ever be. Now again, people were pissed off that they were essentially lied to, they were used, they were blatantly promised one thing, and then when the company got what they wanted, again, this is not a AAA company, this is an indie company, then they were basically just thrown aside. And they were blatantly told, hey, if you don't like it, you can have a refund. I might also note that the Reddit as of today is about half full, just on the front page, of people asking how to get refunds or showing how to get refunds for the game. About another third of them, or another quarter of them, are just basically railing on Phoenix Point and Julian Gollop right now, as well as Snapshot Games. And about the last quarter, we're asking why is everybody mad, because not everybody knows about this already. Now, believe it or not, I'm not actually here to talk about what it is that Snapshot Games did. The first place I saw this was actually on Yongyea's channel. I will have the link to that video down below. Please check him out. It's the first place I saw it break. Other YouTubers have covered it since then. Please go check it out to get the full story for them. I've actually got a different spin I want to put on this. Now, to kind of show you what this spin is, I'm going to read a post that was posted under the name Julian Gollop. It says lead designer under the Reddit. I can only assume this is him. This was posted 5 hours ago in the Reddit, and it reads as follows. Now, the Reddit itself is titled, When You Get Your Backers to Take All the Financial Risks and Get to Keep All the Financial Benefits. And there's a meme here with Julian Gollop with a crown and money. It looks like Homer Simpson with a with a bunch of jewelry on and stuff. A little mean picture, not too well done, but you get the point. Julian Gollop actually posted to this. It says, "Actually, I live on the 7th floor of a concrete tower block built by the Bulgarian army in 1974. The walls aren't straight. The earthquake in 2011 cracked a lot of the plaster. The lifts require blind faith to get where you want, and there is no inner door. I have 2 children who have claimed the living room as their own territory. They won't even let me watch TV. My 12-year-old Skoda Fabia is literally on its last legs as the suspension is giving in due to the abuse from Sophia's potholed and cobbled roads. However, this won't be changing until Phoenix Point is released with all the love and attention it needs. For the inconvenience of pressing button B instead of button A to launch your game, we made a deal that helps us get over the finishing line without my staff wondering whether they will have a job at the end of it. I still think the offer of a year's worth of free DLC plus the Steam/GOG key at the end of it is a good deal for the inconvenience caused. Unfortunately, I can't please everyone, and I regret that we were just not in a position to consult our backers over this move. However, this is where we are, and we will continue to develop the game to the maximum of our ability." Now, some people may have sympathy for Julian hearing about the living conditions that he is apparently living in. I don't know if this is true or not, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter. What's happened here with Snapshot Games and Julian Gollop is that they have essentially lied to their backers, promised a product in a certain way, and then when they had all the money, they changed up what they were actually offering. They essentially lied. Now, whether this was the plan from the get-go, I don't know. I doubt it, but at the end of the day, they lied and they're not delivering the product in the way that it was supposed to be delivered, the way that the backers, the people who actually paid them, wanted it to be. Now, whether his living conditions are actually crappy or not, I don't know. If they are, then I do feel for the man, and I do understand the risks of owning a company. I do understand the worry about owning a company and having to make sure your employees are paid and whether you have a roof over your own head as well. I understand these things. That is still not an excuse for essentially lying to your customers. In fact, this was essentially a bait and switch. Here it is that they put out a promise to actually have this game out for Steam and GOG, and then when they were financially secure enough to finish the game, hey, guess what? We're only going to release it on this launcher because we're going to get more money out of it. I would akin it to this, even though it's not quite as, 1-to-1 ratio. It's not quite apples to apples. However, to me, this is akin to robbing a bank, taking the money, investing it, doubling the money, and then returning the original money to the bank when you're done. You still robbed the bank to begin with. You still committed the crime. You still need to pay the punishment for that. And that's honestly what I think needs to happen and is going to happen here. I'm not sure what laws are on the books that could actually do anything about this, since it was promised from the beginning when people were backing the game, when it was being crowdfunded, it would be released on these platforms. Now they've gone back. I don't know if this could be considered a case of fraud. I'm not sure what international laws could apply here. I'm not actually sure. However, no matter what laws do or don't apply, this is still an extremely scummy move, and as far as I'm concerned, is tantamount to theft. If you had offered this game only on the Epic's game launcher from the get-go, I can almost guarantee it would not have been crowdfunded. You essentially stole money from your backers, and your backers are pretty pissed about it. I'm also a bit confused on why they did this to begin with, especially since the Epic's game launcher is already mired in so much controversy. People don't want to use it, and then you make it exclusively for that launcher only. On top of that, you screw your entire fan base. I'm actually curious how well this game is going to do. I'll be keeping my eye on it. I'm not actually sure this game is going to sell enough to make up for this. The XCOM series itself didn't see blockbuster success. It was, middling success as it is. And limiting your game only to one launcher also limits how many people are going to buy the game. Plenty of people aren't going to buy the game just because of what you did. Plenty more aren't going to buy it just because they're never going to see it because they're not going to go to the Epic's game store. So again, I'm wondering if the bigger cut from Epic is actually going to be worth limiting not only where your game is at, but alienating everyone who actually helped you develop your game. Everyone that made you financially stable enough to get to the point you're at now. Is it actually going to be worth it? But my final thought is this kind of draws a parallel to the AAA gaming industry, where in big AAA blockbuster games, we're seeing like Anthem that are releasing with millions of dollars of advertising, but with no content in it. Here we have the opposite side of the spectrum, an indie developer with a beloved game series and they're crowdfunding it, so we know people want the game, but then they end up screwing over people anyway. Again, really makes me wonder where the game industry is going. Is there any real safe place to go to find games, or to kind of get away from all the crap that keeps happening? AAA spaces aren't really safe. Indie spaces aren't safe. I mean, there's plenty of crap that gets released on Steam as it is. Basically, no part of gaming is safe from controversy at this point. So I'm not really surprised that this happened. There'll be more stories, I'm sure. I do want to keep checking on the story to see how this game sells when it does come out. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. So thank you all for coming by, and I will see you guys later.